welcome to Life Talk for July 14th, 2017. I'm Mark Crutcher.
And I'm Renee Hobbs. Thanks for joining us, and a happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday. Is that an official?
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
That is official.
Yep. All right. We keep on telling people to send us their request about subjects to talk about and issues and so forth, and we had a lady called a couple of weeks ago, and we're just now getting around to this because we've been so busy with other things. She called and wanted to know how she justified a pure pro-life position, no exceptions, even for the life of the mother. And she said, I know that that's your position. That's the official Life Dynamics position. And she said, how do you reconcile that? She said, I'm very pro-life, but my sister's not. And this is what she keeps throwing up in my face. You'd rather have a woman die than to have an abortion. Mm-hmm. This is pro-abortion nonsense. This is crapola. But first off, let's talk about the issue of having exceptions for the right to life anyway. You often hear people say, well, I'm very pro-life, but the second they say but, that means they're not pro-life.
Right.
Because
there's some kind of exception in there that makes them not completely 100% pro-life.
Well, in my view, it makes them not pro-life at all. Because if you paraphrase what they're saying, they'll say, I'm pro-life, but I think abortion ought to be allowed in the cases of rape or incest. Remember, the pro-life position is that the unborn child is a living human being from the moment of fertilization, and that it has the same right to life as a 3-year-old or a 10-year-old or a 50-year-old. There's no distinction. Is that right?
That's right.
It's exactly the position.
And the baby that was conceived in incest or rape is not the baby's fault.
It's still the baby.
It's still a baby.
It's still a baby. Now, my argument has always been, if you hear somebody start talking about a pro-life with exceptions position, take that position and apply it to a 3-year-old, because we're saying morally they're the same, or a 5-year-old or a 50-year-old. We're saying morally they're the same. And paraphrase it. Say, all right, I'm pro-life, but I think it's okay to kill babies that were conceived in rape, because that's what you're saying, right? Well, how about a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old or a 50-year-old?
Right.
You know, there's some estimates, Renee. We looked at this many, many years ago before you were even here. But there are some estimates out there from people who study this that somewhere between 3 and 5% of all the babies born in America were conceived in rape. I don't know if those figures are accurate or not, but let's just say it's the bottom end, 3%. That means if you see a picture of 100 school children on a playground,
right,
3 of them were conceived in rape.
Right, and you can't pick out the baby that was raped or the child that was raped.
No, that was the product of rape.
Right.
So.
Exactly.
Right. So we don't make a distinction between those children. And if somebody murdered a child who was the product of rape, we would not go to court and say, well, this is not the same as if he had murdered a child that wasn't the product of rape. Right. So if we don't make a distinction with a 5-year-old, and we say a 5-year-old and the unborn child are morally equivalent and entitled to the same right to life, then you cannot be pro-life and claim that there's one group of human beings out here that it's okay to kill, and one group of children.
Right. No, it doesn't make sense.
You can't do it. It's irrational.
Yeah.
The other thing is, from a pro-life perspective, you lose all credibility, because when you champion the pro-life cause and you're saying that the unborn child is a living human being, but then you turn right around and say, oh, but in these cases I think it's okay to kill them, you have no credibility left. You're done. And the nice thing about having a pure 100% pro-life position is you never have to apologize for your position.
Never.
Never.
Right.
And I have been in environments years ago when they had debates on abortion, and I would do them, and sometimes I'd have a partner in the debate that I didn't even know till I showed up at the university or whatever, and they said, oh, you 3 are going to be on the pro-life side, and you 3 are the pro-abortion. I'd be meeting somebody for the first time that was pro-life. Sometimes they'd have exceptions. And inevitably, the other side, and to my view, correctly, would beat up on them.
I know, and I was going to say, and you're going to argue with the people that are supposed to be on the pro-life side here, because they have
not pro-life.
Right.
Right.
Ugh.
And so I've been on those panels before where one of my colleagues that I didn't know prior, because if I'd known this prior, I wouldn't have been on the panel with them, or I'd have straightened them out to begin with. And they said, but I still believe it ought to be allowed in case of rape, incest, or threat to the mother's life, or sometimes they'll even say things like, at least during the first trimester, I think it should be allowed during that, but I am pro-life. And so like you say, you wind up arguing with the person on your own.
That's on your
own
side,
team.
yeah.
But the fact is, they spend then the most of that debate or that discussion defending their pro-life credentials, because the pro-abortionists will come back and say, well, if you think that the unborn child is a living human being from the moment of fertilization, how can you justify abortion for rape or incest? Right? You don't do it for a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old. And so they spend the next hour or 2 hours, or whatever it might be, trying to defend that. When you're pro-life with no exceptions, you never have to apologize for your position. Never. And so, and you don't lose the credibility of looking hypocritical by suggesting that the unborn child's a living human being, but it's okay to kill this group over here. Now, of course, the big one always comes to be the life of the mother exception. They'll say, well, you're saying if this mother's pregnant and her pregnancy threatens her life, she has to give her life to save the baby.
Which abortion does not save the life of the mother.
It doesn't. Yeah, killing the baby doesn't save the mother.
Yeah, at all.
There's no. First off, in today's medical technology, there's virtually no, and I've had some doctors, OBGYNs, tell me there is absolutely no situation in which a woman's pregnancy threatens her life so that you have to have an abortion. That
and
doesn't
then
happen.
it's an excuse.
An excuse.
They feel like it's justified to say something like that,
Right.
to use that.
And the fact is, there's no disease that a pregnant woman can have for which killing the baby is the cure. There's no such thing.
Right.
But let's just say for a moment that you're going to argue, okay, there are some circumstances. There aren't, but let's just say there are. How can you justify saying that this woman can't have an abortion if her alternative is to die? The issue here is, what is the intent of the procedure? Let's think about this for a moment, Renee. Let's say that a man is sitting in his living room, he and his wife watching television, and he's cleaning his gun. He's got a pistol and he's cleaning it. And the pistol goes off and shoots his wife through the head. She drops dead, right? Now, is he going to be charged with murder? Is he automatically going to be charged with murder in that case? And the answer is no. It depends on what his intent was. If the police are able to determine that legitimately he was just cleaning his rifle and he didn't know it was loaded, or his pistol, and it went off and killed her,
Right.
they're not going to charge him with a homicide.
And asking or talking to other people about their relationship. And
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So he's not going to be charged with a homicide if this is an accident. But if people come forward and say, well, I live in the apartment next to him, and they were hollering and screaming, and I heard her say, no, don't shoot me, and something like that, now he's going to be charged.
Right.
But the fact is that in both cases, the woman is just as dead, right? But the difference between a homicide charge and a non-homicide charge is, what was his intent?
Right.
In one, he intended to kill her, so therefore he's going to be charged with the murder.
Right.
And the other one, his intent was to clean his gun, and this was an accident.
Right.
And the same thing could be true if you're driving down the street and you run up on the curb and run over and kill somebody. Are you going to be charged with a homicide? And I've ridden with you. This is not a far-fetched possibility here.
It just depends on a whole lot of factors. Are you drunk?
Well,
Are you texting?
But were you trying to do it?
Were you trying to do it?
Or did a tire blow out
Right.
and sent you up on the curb and you ran over this person? But if somebody says, no, I tell you, I saw her, she intentionally ran over him.
Right.
She intentionally ran. Now you're going to be charged. So it's what your intent was that matters. The same thing is true here. It's what is the intent.
Right.
And so the argument has to be that if there is this incredibly rare circumstance under which a pregnancy threatens a woman's life, the physician involved should be allowed to do anything that's necessary to save her life
Right.
and the baby's life.
Right.
You have to be trying to save both lives. Your intent cannot be to kill one of them to save the other one.
Right.
It's just as wrong to kill the baby to save the mother as it would be to kill the mother to save the baby.
Sure. Right.
So what is your intent when you go into this procedure? When you go into this operation, what is the intent? And the intent must always be to save both lives.
Sure.
Now, if as an unintended consequence of that effort to save both lives, one of them dies, that is an unintended consequence.
It's an indirect death.
Right.
It's not intentional, but it was.
It's unfortunate, but it should not rise to the level of being illegal.
Yeah.
If a legitimate argument, I mean, a legitimate attempt was being made to save both of them. A good analogy to this, Renee, we've talked about this before, is Siamese twins, conjoined twins.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, they're successfully able to separate Siamese twins sometimes. If you had Siamese twins and you went to a doctor who was specialized in this field and said, look, we think what we want you to do, we want you to go in there and kill one of those Siamese twins in order to save the other one. Not a doctor in the world would do that.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
No legitimate physician would do that.
Well, no parent would do that.
But let's say that a parent did.
Would request it.
Right.
Yeah.
Said, I want you to kill this baby. We like this one, so kill this one so we can save this one.
Mm-hmm.
So that he'll be a solo baby from that point forward. No doctor is going to do that. And the only position that a legitimate medical physician would take is, a medical practitioner would take is, I'll participate in this if the effort is to save both of them. Now, it may be that one or the other one dies. It may be that both of them die. It may be that neither one of them dies.
Right.
But I will not go into this. A trained medical professional, a legitimate medical professional, would never go into this with the intent of killing one to save the other.
That's right.
The same thing is true here. Now, you say, well, abortionists do this all the time. Yes, and that's why they're not legitimate medical doctors. These people are hired killers. That's what you have to remember. They're not physicians. They're contract killers. They're no different than some guy that works that's hired by the mob to go out here and kill somebody. It's the exact same situation. They're contract killers. They are not acting as doctors. An ambulance driver shows up at a scene of a wreck, and let's say that people are trapped in a car in a way that he looks at it and says, wow, getting this person out may cause this person to lose their life because of the way they're in the car. They would try to get both of them out alive. But an ambulance driver, if somebody walked up there and said, well, here's what we want you to do. We want you to kill this one over here so you can get this one out. There's not an ambulance driver in the world that's got any morals at all that would do that. They would try to get both of them out. Maybe that one of them dies. That's unavoidable. But that's not what you intend to happen when you go into it. So the point of this is that contrary to the abortion lobby's claim, my position and your position is not that the baby's rights are superior to the mom's. That's what they always say. Well, you favor the rights of the baby over the mom. No, we don't. We favor the right to life of both of them.
Yeah, that's a big argument that they use.
Right. Our position is not that the baby's rights are superior to the mom's. It would be as wrong to kill the mother to save that baby as it would be to kill that baby to save that mother, what we said a moment ago. Our position is they're both living human beings and their rights are equal. There's not that one of them is superior to the other one. And I think what we need to understand here is that by taking this approach and by seeing that the issue is what is the intent, what do these people intend to happen, we protect the lives of both the mother and the baby. We protect both of their lives without having to cave in or acquiesce to this morally bankrupt argument that sometimes it profits the mother to kill her baby. That's the pro-aborts.
Well, and that's exactly why we have the safe and legal brochure that we have is for sidewalk counselors to stand outside and to hand them out to the women or even men that are with the women going into the abortion clinic to have the abortion. There was a situation that happened not long ago where this lady was already in the abortion clinic, and the person that got her pregnant was talking to the sidewalk counselors. They handed him the safe and legal, and he ran in and grabbed his girlfriend or wife, whatever, out of the clinic and told her that she was not going to have the abortion.
Right.
So,
and she didn't want to have the abortion to begin with.
we do side, and unlike what the pro-abort say, we do want to protect the mother.
Right, exactly. And this position, take the intent issue as what's important here, because that is what's important. If you take that position, then you never cave into this stupid argument, in this morally bankrupt argument, that sometimes it's necessary to kill the baby to help the mother. That is a morally bankrupt argument. And we're out of time here, but the pro-aborts always talk about how pro-woman they are, and then they'll turn right around and say, but no woman ever wants to have an abortion. They just do this out of need. Well, if no one wants to have an abortion, and it doesn't profit her, why aren't you trying to do the things that would prevent her from having an abortion instead of saying, oh, by the way, if you've got $500, we'll sell it to you,
Yeah.
right?
I mean,
Only if you got cash.
considering all those women that have died during the abortion, they're not very pro-woman, are they?
No, they're not. And that's what the point of the Safe and Legal brochure that you're
Yeah.
talking about, where we talk about the women who die having abortions. Anyway.
Hi, Elaine.
Hi, who?
Elaine.
Elaine.
Elaine. That's my middle name, by the way.
That's your middle name. That's why you're saying hi to her, because she's got your middle name. Anyway, we got this covered?
We have this covered, yeah. Thanks for sending in that,
Yes.
that, I guess,
Question. Yeah. I did, when this woman called, I did go over this with her, and she was very relieved, and she said, I'm going to go talk to my sister right now
Yeah.
and make her understand that. She said, but I'm never going to back down again. She said, I've been silent a lot of times when this issue came up because I didn't know what to say. Now I understand what to say, and that the issue is intent. What did you intend to happen?
That's right.
And what the legitimate thing to intend to happen is that both of them survive.
Yeah.
If that turns out to be beyond your control, then that's beyond your control. But that's what your intent is
Yeah.
at all times.
Yeah.
And if that's not your intent, you're not pro-life. So when these people look at you and say, well, I'm pro-life, but I think it's okay in the first trimester, or it's okay if it's one of the pills instead of a surgical abortion, or it's okay if the baby was conceived in rape or incest, those abortions are okay. No, they're not.
No, they're not.
Again, anytime you're in an argument about abortion, you can always, if you're not sure what to say, if you're not sure how to defend the pro-life position, take the unborn child out of the equation and put a 5-year-old in it. Then you'll know how to defend the position.
That's right.
Right?
It's easy to do then.
It's easy to do then.
Yep.
That's right. Anyway,
Okay.
got anything else?
No, well, just hi, Roger from Vermont.
Hi, Roger
all.
from Vermont.
Yep.
She looks at the deal here. I don't see it, but
Yep.
she understands all this stuff, or she claims to. I'm
Kind of.
not really sure, but
Yeah. I mean, there's some good comments from Mita, so thank you. for
all right.
those.
And if you have anything like this that you want to talk about or have us talk about, be sure and call in. I actually offered to have this lady come on and be a phone guest with us, but she didn't want to do it. She was scared to do that, so she didn't want
You
to.
know, a lot of people are.
Yeah.
It's a little bit frightening at first.
Well, you were when we first started Life Talk.
I know from firsthand experience, so very frightening. As a matter of fact,
What?
my first show was not a very good show.
Yeah, well,
I survived it.
it wasn't as bad as you thought it was, but
I won't say what happened that evening, but I didn't survive that evening either.
But yeah, so if we may ask you if you want to be on to talk about the issue, but don't be scared. It's just a conversation. It's what I tried to get over to her. It took me a while, but she was a nervous wreck the first time because you were in a different situation.
Yeah.
You were sitting on this table when we had me, and Father Frank, and Troy Newman, and you.
Yeah, there was no competing
And you were
people, no
intimidated.
competing.
Right. You were intimidated. We could tell that.
Very much.
But look how well you've done now. How far you've come along.
Bring it on.
Right.
Where are they at now?
Right. That's right. Well, thanks.
Thank y'all. Y'all have a good weekend.
Yes. And remember, until we see you next week, we'll be taping again on Monday. Until then, remember, Life Dynamics is not here to put up a good fight. We're here to win, because winning is how the killing stops. We'll see you on Monday.